If you're competent, you don't need to be told to be confident. You all have something that you can be that person in, be that person there, and then tie that story to why you do what you do. The 4 must-haves for you to be able to develop your personal brand. The first one is high status. So in other words, your investors, your brokers, whoever it is, they have to perceive you as somebody of high status and high value. It's not about narcissism or arrogance or cockiness, because if they perceive you below their level, that's not an investment, that's charity. Now, it sounds like a pretty crude thing to say, but it's true. Think about from your perspective, if anyone's ever asked you as simple as a loan or as simple as a favor or as simple as something, if you perceive them as somebody as high status, you're happy to do it. You're happy to participate because you feel like there's a benefit to you potentially somewhere down the line. You can't maybe put your finger on it, but there's that perception there that this is a good idea to pursue. If you perceive them below you economically or whatever it is, you're going to see it as charity. You're going to see them as doing them a favor. So my whole point is, when you're positioning yourself, the status frame that you take has to be there. They need to see you as somebody that's worth listening to. The best way for you guys to be able to be perceived as high status is through thought leadership. Tess has done wonderful things. Cam's done a ton with logistics and infrastructure and building out teams and systems. You guys all have backgrounds in your life, things that you've done in a previous life or something somewhat related that ties back to this. So framing that in the context of what you're an expert in gives you a thought leadership platform. And literally with me, because it's private equity capital raising, that's my thing. I'm the capital guy. That's my credibility. That's my track record. 9 figures of capital raised. Like so when I talk about the topic, people want to listen. And the key is all of you have that in a very specific area of your life, whether it's construction, development, project management, engineering, running a small business, whatever it is, you all have that. So the key is to build your status through your thought leadership on something you're already an expert in, not something you're developing because you're playing a new game. If you've been in multifamily or real estate for less than a decade, you're not going to position yourself as an expert. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not going to happen. You don't have enough experience. So the key is you can take the frame of, hey, I've been a contractor for 20 years. And for the last 7 years, I transitioned into real estate. That's a really strong frame because I've been in this business for 20 years. And 7 years ago, I transitioned into this. Because those two things are very connected. You guys see what I'm saying? And then when you take a thought leadership position on the contracting, not necessarily on the real estate investing side, you're an expert. And because you're so strong in development, construction, land assembly, finance, accounting, auditing financials, flipping houses, whatever it is that you've done, because you're so strong there, that's your point of authority. Mine isn't real estate. I never come out to you guys and say, hey, I'm the real estate guy. Yeah, I've done a lot of real estate, but I've raised a lot more money than I've done real estate deals. So my authority with my audience is capital. And it just so happens that I invest in real estate, but I have partners for that. But if I came out to the marketplace and I try to be another multifamily guy, there's tons of guys out there that have done more multifamily than I have. There's very few guys out there that have raised more money than I have. So pick your spot, is what I'm trying to say, that you can be the expert on. You all have something that you can be that person in, be that person there, and then tie that story to why you do what you do with self-storage, with flipping houses, with multifamily, with commercial real estate, with whatever it is. Because if you have that position, you're coming at it from a position of strength. And that's really what's important. The third piece ties back into the second piece, competence and expertise. So obviously, if you're going to be a thought leader, you need to be able to demonstrate the competence and expertise in that thought leadership discipline, right? If I came up here and I tried to talk to you guys about how to buy, a franchise, well, I've never bought a franchise before. I've bought a few businesses, but I've never bought a franchise. So I have no credibility in that space. None. Right? If I told you about how to do audited financials or the accountant, some of you might listen to me because you don't know any different, but the guys that actually know what's going on would be like, this is horseshit. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? So your credibility is dependent on the experience you have to that there. And then the final piece here, and we're going to get into this in the next 6 pillars, is the actual general trustworthiness that brand comes across. Because when you position yourself from status and you can demonstrate thought leadership on the topic and back it up with your experience, you will naturally create trustworthiness with your client. You guys see how one flows into the other, into the other, into the other? It literally all flows into it. But you guys, some of you guys are struggling because you're trying to go for this. You're trying to go for the jugular right out of the gate. I'm trustworthy, trust me, or something along those lines. And the truth is, you don't have the goodwill with strangers that you do with, your buddy from high school, or the guys you used to play ball with, or, the girls that you used to do charity work with, whatever it is. You don't have the implied credibility. It's not there. So you need to manufacture that and do it quickly, because that'll change a 3-year courting period with a new investor to maybe 3 weeks. And psychologically, they're looking for this. Like literally, I've trained thousands of financial advisors, like literally thousands of actual financial advisors that their job was to raise capital. And I could almost pinpoint the moment in their relationships where it was like, okay, now they're ready to write you a check. And it was typically when these 4 things clicked in the exact opposite order than we want. And the best way to exude confidence is through being competent. Because if you're competent, you don't need to be told to be confident. Be confident, be confident. No, like if you've been a school teacher for 20 years and I ask you about the school system impromptu, you can get up, and even if you hate public speaking, you can go off on a rant for 10 minutes and confidently stand behind what you're saying because you know what you're talking about. So the key is to harness that as your starting point.